And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Thursday, August 15th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what you get in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii, Alaska to the lower left and tabs for the various territories. And if you point and click anywhere on this map, you'll get a very specific forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. And I'd like to start the show, just kind of give a quick overview of some of the things happening in the lower 48 because our weather is related. If we look at the wave pattern in the atmosphere, the troughs, the ridges all play a central role in the kind of weather we have shape up in different regions of the country. In the Northeast, they're getting some smoke, poor air quality from forest fire smoke coming down out of Canada. In the central U.S., especially in the southern central plains, lower Mississippi Valley, we have heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. And then on the periphery of that, severe thunderstorm watches, southern Missouri back into Oklahoma, as well as severe thunderstorm watches, southern Iowa and northern Missouri. Further west, red flag warnings for critical fire weather conditions in eastern Nevada, parts of Idaho, and especially a large area of southeast Oregon. But here in Alaska, we're going to be dealing with three storm systems impacting the west coast. One is currently in progress. That'll be rolling through now through Friday. Another one coming in Saturday and Sunday, and yet a third one potentially by around the middle of next week, around next Wednesday. They will produce strong gale force winds with, in some cases, gust to storm force, high surf that could result in some minor coastal flooding or erosion, with moderate to heavy rainfall that could lead to rises of creeks and rivers and some minor flooding in a few areas. And this precipitation and gusty winds will also spread eastward across the interior. First system, that'll be later tonight into Friday, and then as the second storm comes in, another round coming in over the course of the weekend. But if you're in the Panhandle, the ridge of high pressure is going to hold, it looks like, through the weekend. So dry and warm weather will persist with afternoon highs in much of the Panhandle, 60s and 70s. Places like Ketchikan, Metlakatla, on up toward Skagway, Haines could see temperatures 70 plus here as we go into the weekend. But for areas along the Seward Peninsula, especially inland from the coast, there is a flood watch through Sunday afternoon. White Mountain, rain and fog there, 48 degrees. As much as 2 to 4 inches of rain could fall in parts of the Seward Peninsula between now and Sunday late afternoon. As we go into the interior, the central western Alaska range is under a high wind warning. Summit there, partly sunny, 55. Winds will be picking up there tonight and into the day on Friday. Palmer will also see some gusty winds tonight, maybe upwards around 40 miles an hour, as the first front works its way eastward across areas of south central and the interior. And then down in the Panhandle, Heidelberg there in the southern areas, partly cloudy, 64. It's already been 70 around Ketchikan and a few other spots, both also to the north and south. But looking at what we have for our current watches, warnings, advisories. I'll start with the special weather statements that are in blue. That's just to highlight areas of windier conditions with some moderate to locally heavy rainfall, an inch or two of rain with this first system. The area in red is the high wind warning for the western and central Alaska range, including Denali Park. Winds could gust as high as 80 miles an hour along some of the ridge lines and higher gaps there in the Alaska range. We have wind advisory there for near and just west of Isabel Pass. We have wind advisories, hills around Fairbanks extending out into the western interior. That would be late tonight and continuing as that system works its way east. Gusty winds will overspread the interior, perhaps 35 to near 50 miles an hour in some areas for tonight into Friday. And then along the coastline here of the Yukon Delta on up through the eastern portion and southern side of Norton Sound, there are high surf advisories as we expect wind wave action to create higher than normal surf. And then just added, we have a coastal flood advisory for areas around, especially this north side here of Kuskokwim Bay now through Sunday evening, because two of the storms, the one currently coming through and the one then Saturday into Sunday, will actually have even a little more potential to cause some minor coastal flooding here along areas of the Kuskokwim Bay area. So keep that in mind as well. And then we have a flood watch for the Seward Peninsula, including Nome, Golovin, White Mountain, into the interior. We could see some minor flooding along the Snake River, especially if that 2 to 4 inches of rain falls. Another area that could get some heavier rain is up here on the south slopes of the southwest parts here of the Brooks Range around Ambler. As much as 3 to 4 inches of rain could fall through later Sunday. And here's a map here provided by the forecast office in Fairbanks. It shows that area Nome on over toward Golovin, 2 to 3 inches of rain, most of that coming with this system, but again through Sunday. And then by the time we get up here along areas of the Brooks Range, the south slopes, Ambler to the east could pick up as much as 3 to 4 inches of rain. Galena's looking at maybe an inch to an inch and a half. Unalakleet, inch and a half to 2 inches. Same thing down at Anvik. So this is going to be a very wet system. Only thing good about that is it snuffs out the fire danger. No fire danger there in the west. Essentially, the fire season is over with for this area of the state. The only place we do have higher fire danger is up along this upper Tanana Valley. We've had temperatures around 70 today. This morning it got down to 29 at Eagle. I've seen a 70-degree temperature near Tok. So it's still warm here, and then otherwise the greatest warmth and drier conditions also down here across parts of the southern panhandle. But again, fire danger should be winding down. The latest outlook by the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center is that at least today, wet, cool, and windy weather for western Alaska, that's a given, and that's going to persist here through the weekend. Warmer temperatures, sunshine, the eastern interior along the Alcan border, and especially down there across the southeast panhandle. We are going to see gusty southeast to southerly winds through the Alaska Range and passes. But the outlook is essentially Alaska's wildfire season is certainly winding down, and as typical for the second half of August, we might see some small local fires are still possible, but the threat of these large, long-lived and fast-growing fires has really ended across the state. So that's good news, and I'll maybe have one other outlook or update on that by a week from now. But in the meantime, here we have in the satellite imagery, here comes the first storm. The center of low pressure now is north of St. Paul and just to the southeast of St. Matthew. It's going to track right up to near Nome, be passing through Nome around 4 a.m. this Friday morning, lifting northeastward all the way up to Utqiagvik by late tomorrow afternoon. And then here's the hints of the next low that'll be coming out of the North Pacific and crossing the western half of the Aleutians. That'll be the next storm to impact the west and southwest portions, coastal areas for the weekend. We already have one front pushing in. That's going to spread some rain into areas of south central and gustier winds. Some of the winds out over Cook Inlet, those Turnagain easterly winds could be quite strong on the immediate south side of Anchorage there, especially near the inlet, and coming through Turnagain Arm on the way to Girdwood. But looking at today's current setup, we have a ridge of high pressure still giving areas along the Alcan border, the eastern interior, warm, dry conditions, and certainly the panhandle. But here's the first low. Here's number 2 over there, and by the time we get into late tonight, early tomorrow morning, that first storm, low center passing right near Nome, a occluded front pushing in across the central interior, a weak secondary low down there just on the north end of Kodiak Island, and then a trailing front back to this next system, so that on Friday afternoon we still have the one front pushing eastward. That's going to bring some showers and areas of rain and gusty winds across the interior for Friday afternoon. And then down to the south we have this low that'll kind of wash out, and then we have the stronger low that's going to be taking a similar track to the one that's currently working its way through the eastern bearing right now. And generally on Friday here, some sunshine. Central southern panhandle can have temperatures again 60s and 70s. Saturday afternoon we have the low located again north of St. Paul to the west of St. Matthew. It'll take a track up toward the west side of the Seward Peninsula, similar to the one that's currently tracking through there. Ahead of it could be a mild day up through Cook Inlet, the Kenai Peninsula, but more rain and rain showers along this front, along with gusty winds. And again, we still have that threat with this front, especially on Saturday into Saturday night for some coastal flooding there along areas of Kuskokwim Bay, especially the north side of the bay. So looking at temperatures, Friday morning lows, 48, Petersburg and Juneau, otherwise in the low mid-50s. Temperatures have come up even in the Copper River Basin because of increasing cloud cover. We expect to be above 50 tonight in south central areas such as the Anchorage Bowl because of increased wind and cloud cover and precipitation. And then on Friday afternoon, warmest readings, look at these 70s showing up, 72 at Skagway. Conservatively, 70, 73 here around Metlakatla and Ketchikan. With the rain letting up in the afternoon, we expect temperatures, though, to get back up in the low 60s here across. This is not a cold air mass. It's a milder, wet air mass that's come up from the southwest, so we're not looking at cold nighttime temperatures, generally in the 50s for lows Saturday morning. Maybe 46 there at Glen Allen, but otherwise in through the Panhandle, we have temperatures again either right upper 40s to generally above 50, and then look at this again. Saturday afternoon, more in the way of 70s across the Panhandle. It's going to be a very warm one there this weekend. Enjoy it. With some sunshine, Saturday afternoon could be 71 there at Glen Allen. And look at this, even King Salmon pushing 71. This is a warm air mass ahead of the second storm. And I would expect as we get into Saturday night into Sunday, we'll see some more rain spreading southwest to northeast from the Alaska Peninsula up into south central. So across the main central and northern interior, lows 40s and 50s, not cold at all. Won't be quite as cold as what we've seen the past couple of mornings here in east central areas, a bit more in the way of cloud cover. But look at the warmth. Could be 75-ish Eagle, 74 Northway. Forecast upper 60s, some warm downslope flow here at Kaktovik and Dead Horse. Even back to the west, upper 40s along the coast from Point Lay and Point Hope down to Wales and Savunga. And then lows a little cooler along the northwest Arctic coast Saturday morning in the mid-upper 30s. Some 40s return then. With the first front having passed east. But outlook for Saturday afternoon, still could see temperatures up around 70 along the immediate Alcan border, some 60s north side of the Alaska Range, some of that downslope warmth. And then temperatures across the southwest interior tonight, upper 40s near 50 for lows. And Friday afternoon temperatures, some 60s. Here showing up in the Alaska Peninsula as that next front is going to come lifting back north as a warm front across the Alaska Peninsula and at least up here through just west of the Alaska Range. We'll show you those temperatures Saturday, but lows Saturday morning generally around 50 here in the southwest interior, Bethel on up toward Anvik and McGrath, but down here along the Alaska Peninsula back toward Dutch Harbor, lows in the 50s. And look at this, Saturday afternoon could even potentially see a reading of 71 at King Salmon, 66 at Kodiak City and up along and just on the west side of the Alaska Range, temperatures 65 to 70 degrees, so it'll be a brief warm one there. But that doesn't stop things because I've been telling you about the fact that the extended temperature outlook just keeps the cooler temperatures across the west side of the state. The period August 21st through the 25th does intrude some of that cooler air up the Yukon Valley, which would imply we have storm systems and fronts working their way west to east into the interior. The best chance of above normal temperatures will continue to be across southeast parts of the state, all of the Panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast, and that would imply that there's ridging back through this way in Canada. And then with a southerly and southwest flow like this coming in off the North Pacific or the Bering, the greatest potential for above normal precipitation will be here across areas of the west and the northwest, middle Yukon Valley up through the western and central Brooks Range to along the northwest Arctic coast and the northern Seward Peninsula. Drier than normal conditions may prevail with those warmer temperatures August 21st through the 25th across a good portion of the Panhandle.